Hello, welcome to Swiss Watch Cam. Today with another very cool interview for you guys. We have my special friend Amr here from Lausanne. We are in my hometown of Zurich, Switzerland, taking a look at his collection, and I'm really happy to show you guys this thing. Amr, hey, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it so much.
So much
for
fun.
you taking the time. Welcome to Zurich.
It's an experience, honestly. Listen, I love Zurich. I'm only 2 hours away, so you should pop by sometime as well.
Thank you so much for coming. So we have a lot of watches here, a very diverse collection, as you're known for.
Well, I try. I don't even think about it, honestly, but it just kind of happened, you know.
Absolutely. So for you guys that don't know Amr, you actually are an OG Instagram personality called @thehorrorfile. I follow you since basically the beginning of my journey. I was always looking at what crazy watches you bought and what those brands even were, which I love about your channel. So I think it's thank you again for the opportunity to show this to the audience as well. We have a few segments here. We divided into, let's say, vintage first pieces watches on this side.
Yeah.
Your obsession with purple, the color purple,
my fetish,
and your modern timepieces, all very diverse. So let's just dive into it. What was your first watch?
Yeah, so my first watch was this lovely two-tone Daytona, circa 2004, I believe. So what happened was, I used to see my older brothers. One of them had a Daytona. He had a few actually. He used to love like Rolex. And a bit of a family tradition. My brothers and sisters and most of us studied here in Switzerland actually for high school. And usually tradition, parents come for the graduation. Except I think being number 4, somehow unlucky, nobody came to mind. So when I went back, home, I kind of grilled my dad a bit and kind of guilt tripped him into getting a Daytona. But the funny thing is, when we went to the dealer, and my dad had already bought watches from him and stuff, so he had a relationship, I'd say. I was offered a steel or the two-tone. And me being 18 at the time, obviously gold, why would I go for steel? And so you learn the hard way sometimes. That's part of the fun of this hobby.
But it's a sentimental piece,
absolutely.
right? So.
Sadly it doesn't get much wrist time. Like the other gold pieces don't get much wrist time. Like this, for example, this got a bit of a story to it. So I believe this was a gift from my grandfather to my father before I was born, so around 82. And I actually have a few photos of my dad back in the day wearing this watch. Of course, the AP Audemars Piguet ultra thin automatic perpetual calendar, which at the time of its release was something quite extraordinary.
Absolutely.
And even today, I think
exactly
in terms of proportions, in terms of everything, it's still an exceptional watch. Sadly, I only wear it once a year, so end of February, just to see the. It's not even an instantaneous calendar, so there's a bit of a drag by the time the date changes, and it's a really noisy click, but you feel it.
So at midnight you wait, you watch 30 minutes probably.
And it's still not moving, but a time lapse would be nice, but.
I hope you wind it, huh?
Yeah, not really. That's why, end of the month, I kind of have to go through it. And honestly, the problem is, with these perpetual calendars, I can never remember which corrector does what. So I do it the long way. I do a whole year of just crown cycling.
It's beautiful. Many our audience saw this in the previous interview with Tom, Singapore Watch Club.
Tom is I think
he had
today
a few of those.
Tom, I think today is the reference of all things, AP ultra perpetual
vintage
calendar.
For sure.
Absolutely.
100%.
And I love his focus on that particular piece or some particular pieces he has. And I wish I had that much discipline in collecting. But as you can see, I just love variety.
Yeah, I love it though.
And again, one of my earlier pieces as well, again, this is not something I bought. This was a similar situation as this. So this was my high school graduation guilt trip gift. And this was my university graduation gift because nobody came for that either. So I upped the ante a little bit. I had the Rolex.
It's not bad, huh?
Yeah, I had 1 or 2 sports watches that I, eventually sold, but I wanted something a bit more classic. And this was, of course, for a graduate, way out of budget anyways. So this is a Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso Grande Sun Moon from, again, I think 2000. I must have gotten it 2007, but it was around that time.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful piece, and the movement's nice on the back.
It's a very poetic piece, I'd say. When I look at it today, I kind of try to understand what I saw in it, all those years ago. Some things don't really make sense anymore. Why is there a day and night indicator if there's no second time zone or GMT? But I think it's just the aesthetic of it. I loved having, the moon phase.
It's very romantic.
Exactly, that day-night indicator, and it's a reverso. It's kind
power
of an
reserve
icon.
indicator. And the back is nice with this like constellation.
It's a beautiful, like it's got a special engraving on there, like 8-day manual winding movement.
Do you wear it a lot or not really that much?
Not in many years.
You know, I'm not surprised. Okay, but
well, no, but you know what? Honestly, like, I mean, I think when you first get into like buying or collecting watches, especially in my time. I mean, I started around 2006.
Yeah.
And back then, of course, this was before social media, before Instagram, before like WhatsApp and all these things. And the only place you can hang out with watch geeks was like forums. So I was pretty active on timezone.com, and I don't know, like you see that a lot of people. I mean, you see a lot of variety, and this is how I learned. I think much of what I know and like look out for today. But I always felt like there's certain watches you have to have. You have to have a dress watch. You have to have like the dive watch, and that was the biggest mistake. And it was a very like expensive mistake, I guess, that lasted a few years until you realize like there is no like there shouldn't be like a strict path or a ladder, let's say, of collecting. I think buy what you like, and especially buy what you're gonna wear and enjoy, because I mean, I'm being a bit of a hypocrite here, because a lot of these watches don't get a lot of wrist time. But for me, even if something gets like gets worn once a year, it's almost justified. It's just like I like variety.
I mean, but that's also when people ask me which watch to buy, either on YouTube or Instagram or in general. I always tell them, buy what you like, because you have to wear the watch if you buy it.
Absolutely, and I think it's okay if you get drawn into certain hype pieces. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I fell in love with the Pepsi ceramic Rolex, but I still try to always look out for things that are more like, I guess, me, and I'm not. I guess I'm not completely. I mean, I'm 33, but I'm not. We're all still growing. It never ends. So your taste changes through time as well. Your taste evolves, I'd say.
Well, you also see a few. You mentioned the Pepsi. You have a very special one, which
so
people saw on your page.
I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm a vintage guy, right? But there are a couple of watches, I guess, with time that you kind of appreciate something about vintage, which is that honestly they just weren't as well made from a technical point of view as today, in terms of materials, in terms of technique, in terms of. So I think what's beautiful about vintage is that up to a certain era, you have watches that have aged or will continue to age, whereas almost anything you buy today is going to remain pretty much static.
Because of the coatings and materials.
The coatings,
and
probably the steel alloys we use, have evolved a bit. The crystals, even the kind of paint and luminous material we use on dials and hands. It's all improved a lot, I think, by industry standards. So it's kind of charming when you find something that it's kind of unique in a way, because no two vintage watches will be alike. So this was.
What do you call the color of this bezel?
So this is the fuchsia bezel, which
all natural.
All natural.
Because of the location, probably sun.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was more of a how you say it, almost like a defect or something wrong in the process of anodizing the aluminum inserts. So the first batches they made, I mean, this was so it's probably a Mark 1. It's got the long E, Rolex.
For those who know about these
I don't. I mean, honestly, I'm just quoting what I found. I mean, I would never pretend to be a Rolex expert, but if I buy something, then I will do the necessary research and due diligence. And of course, like with most things, I mean, the most important thing is the dealer. So
the aging is just amazing.
Shout out to Davidoff brothers.
Davidoff,
good guys.
Those have some cool pieces.
And I was a bit of a pain in the rear end with them for this piece, because I had very specific requirements, and I heard good things about them. I wanted to give them a shot.
And you basically also were looking for the specific color of purple.
Exactly. I mean, I wanted the fuchsia, but I didn't want the blue to be super faded, because usually you find more of those, like where the blue is very faded. I wanted something where the blue is still relatively intact. Yeah, and I still wanted some patina on the tritium. I don't like I don't want something that was suspiciously sort of pumpkin colored, but I don't want something like white either. So honestly, I couldn't be happier. I mean, supposedly unpolished. I mean, the bevels are still intact, and on the Jubilee. So it was kind of a coincidence. This was maybe 2 years before they relaunched the Pepsi, and then I got the Pepsi on the Jubilee, and it made me appreciate it so much more.
Of course, and the Jubilee is very this looks super comfortable.
I mean, honestly, I have girl wrists, and I mean, we'll get to that. But
what I also see, and because it's also tied to your heritage and where you come from.
Yeah.
There's a lot of special Rolex watches here, which
I mean, it's something.
Probably this one in the box nobody saw yet.
Yeah, so I mean.
Could be an exclusive.
I mean, honestly, I've never seen one. I mean, I didn't even know I had it technically a few years ago. But basically, my grandfather, may he rest in peace, was the director of Saudi Airlines. I think sometime in the 60s. I mean, don't quote me on it, but it was pretty early on, and it was really a transition period when Saudi Airlines went from being just a local kind of small airline to becoming, I mean, at the time, the preeminent international airline of the Middle East. I mean. So I mean, he did a lot of things, I guess, for the airline, but also for, his region, his city, because, he started from the bottom, like a lot of people, and kind of built his way up. And as is customary where I'm from, I mean, different, ministries, different, like, state companies do produce, like, or used to produce, like, their own special dialed Rolexes. And I've bought previous ones, like with Saudi Airlines or with the Ministry of Defense, to which the airline belonged to. But then a few years ago, I came home to my grandmother, and I showed her the watch I had just got. So it's, it's another Saudi dial Oyster date, I believe. I think she goes up to her safe, she just opens it and comes out with the box. I mean, this white box, pristine.
Yeah.
I opened the box and there's this.
It's not even new. It's better than new old stock.
I mean, you talk about provenance, but this I think is pretty hard to top. And
this literally has no scratches, nothing.
It's never been worn. I mean, the thing is,
and you have the papers as well, box, everything.
It's, I mean, I feel privileged just to have it, because apparently, I mean, it was the kind of thing where we might have received a few and we gave them out as gifts, to family, friends, and dignitaries visiting and things like that.
The boxes.
So this is the last one we had at home that's brand new. Who knows, maybe one day we'll uncover a couple of more. It's possible.
Maybe your family has a few more up the sleeve.
We don't know. It's a pretty old house. So.
Also, the box, I mean, there's one thing that the watch remains new old stock untouched, but the box and the little suede material inside, it's new,
I mean, the stickers are still in there and intact.
Crazy.
I mean, it's
amazing,
so incredible.
Amazing. And this is a watch.
This is funny. I mean, this is something I bought, like, I guess in the early days, but I actually bought it originally for my wife. Yeah. And she wore it for a while. She loved it, but then one day she came home and I asked her where's the watch, and she pulls it out of her handbag, and she had put it, like, I think with her, like one of the compartments in her bag with her coins and house keys and stuff. And I saw the watch, and honestly, I almost cried. So I've since confiscated it from her. It's still hers, but I'm keeping it under.
What is this for people who don't know the brand? I mean, we have a lot of collectors and friends who love.
Yeah, no. So this is a Gerald Genta Mickey Aviator, I believe it was called. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure when it was produced. I mean, I bought it from a collector buddy of mine. I think around 2007, if I'm not mistaken. And it's pretty cool because it has what was a signature back then for Gerald Genta brand around those days, was the like jumping hours with the retrograde minutes, and it's just kind of a fun watch. And I love, like, especially this version with like the almost like riveted details on the dial.
Yes.
It's a really cool
Mickey's
watch.
hand is actually the minute hand, right?
Exactly.
And it jumps back. Yeah, it's super cool.
It's a fun watch. It's a fun watch, and I mean, like,
very collectible. Like the Mickey Mouse,
I think so. I mean,
Disney
honestly,
editions, yes.
I've gotten, honestly, from all the watches I own, it's probably the one I get the most requests on Instagram, like by DM if I'm selling.
I bet.
It's incredible, but it's not going anywhere. I mean.
I can tell you, I'm searching for those as well. So I have a Gerald Genta as well from similar era. Not a Mickey Mouse,
they're great pieces. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm sad about what happened to the brand. I mean, I love what Bulgari's done nowadays with Gerald Genta stuff, but yeah, I kind of miss just having the name.
On Instagram, you're very known for, of course, your name. I want to ask you first where the name comes from, and also second, what's your obsession with the color purple?
Well, okay, let's start with the name, and I guess the logo, because honestly, like, I noticed like a lot of people don't like necessarily when they say, oh, it's the horrorphiles, they're like, come on, especially like industry people, like go to like Basil and stuff, they know the name, and then you say, you show them, oh, the rabbit. So like, okay, so now like a lot of people just say the rabbit or the purple rabbit.
That's true.
But yeah, the profile, I mean, to me, it's almost like, an obsession with timepieces that's like, almost fetishizing watches, and that's how I kind of get. I really obsess over different things. I go through phases as well, like, and sometimes, I'll be after a watch for months and months and months, and, you just kind of go nuts sometimes, and honestly, like,
we all kind of relate.
Yeah, and honestly, like, when I think about, honestly, like, the amount of time I've spent on this hobby, like, it's not just now, but even like since, after I left college, I didn't have much to do, I didn't have a job, so my refuge was like, timezone.com, the purist, that kind of thing, and like, I learned so much, but at the same time, it's when I realized, I mean, this watch thing goes pretty deep beyond the stuff I knew, like, just the basics, like the big brands that you see at retailers, that you see people wearing. And I think that's really the fetish, is just like appreciating watchmaking, but not just the products, but really just the whole the industry, the ecosystem, and especially the people. I mean, this is why, again, if we jump maybe to this little section, I mean, I've had a thing for like independence. I mean, since I started Instagram almost. I mean, there was a time when independent watchmaking was kind of out of reach because you only had like super high-end stuff. But I think today, what you'd call between, micro brands and independent brands and independent watchmakers. I think we have more choice than ever. We're kind of blessed to be living in this era of, watchmaking. And yeah, so purple, why? That's a good question. I mean,
what's your story?
It's always been a childhood thing. I mean, and I try to think why. I mean, you can ask my mother, like, actually don't ask her. No, but like...
Welcome, mother, come in.
No, but when I was a kid, I always loved purple. I mean, my mom had the hardest time like taking me clothes shopping because she'd take me to like, I don't know, United Colors of Benetton or something, and like, of course, for like,
that's my segment.
Yeah, like the 4 to 6 year old boys section, they have like, blue, green, orange, and I wanted
black,
purple. So I only wanted purple, and I think maybe part of it was a Cadbury chocolate, the British chocolate. It used to come in like this purple wrapper, especially that purple kind of almost aluminum foil effect.
Jesus, so this goes deep, huh?
But it's almost like a Pavlov dogs kind of thing, where like, the purple becomes, yeah. So I kind of obsessed with it ever since. And
awesome.
Yeah, and then there's maybe Transformers. I used to love Transformers when I was a kid, and of course, the bad guys, the Decepticons, Megatron, gray and purple.
The cool guys.
And that's actually been a code you'll notice in a lot of the watches that I've done is that gray and purple kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
you're known for. That's why I also love your page since the beginning, because I saw independence, not let's say the 50, 60 upwards $1,000 range, but let's say quote unquote more affordable watches in the independent space, which I love because you also introduced me to a few brands I didn't even know exist. And
I'm happy to hear that. That's what I'm trying. Like.
No, 100%. And also people can agree, because we are also in Switzerland, we have this opportunity to show some of those pieces with somebody in Asia or US can do. But also what's special about you is most accounts don't have, let's say, their own editions. So
yeah, I mean, listen.
Apart from purple, you also have your special horophile editions, which you designed, and they look awesome.
I'll take you through them. I mean, like,
please.
Listen. I mean, after having my Instagram for like maybe a year or two, like, okay, I was starting to get a bit of followers, and I never really like commercialized it. I never like, I was never on any brands. Invitee list for most stuff anyways. I mean, you get invited to 1 or 2 events once in a while, but like I didn't want to become a media because at the end of the day, like when I started my account, honestly, it was just like a venue for me to post watches because in the beginning my account was just, my name, Amr Sindi, and like I started feeling like a douchebag because I had like, friends and family following me and like, I don't, it was just like a really douchey thing, exactly. So like I just switched the account to like the horophile, removed my name, removed everything. And it was just a place for me like to post watches, discover watches as well, because like let's be honest, even living in Switzerland sometimes, especially when you're not very well known, like brands are not the most accommodating. If you say, hey, I have an Instagram account, can I take pictures of your watches? They wouldn't give you the time of day. So yeah, but after a while, I realized like, okay, there's this color I love. I know it could be cool for watches, even though like in the very few watches that have been purple, it's usually been for women's watches, and I find that like almost like sexist. I mean, it's not pink, it's not like even pink though. Wear whatever you like. So
So this was the first one, right?
So this is the Dietrich. Now some of the Instagram emojis might remember. I mean, Dietrich was like one of those one of the first like I guess Instagram era micro brands I'd say. And Emmanuel Dietrich's become like a really good friend. I think he's an amazing designer. I mean, people should see not just the watches he's done, but he's designed stuff like for like very big interior design, furniture companies. He's done stuff for like Hermes, for like big names, and not just in watches. Yeah. So he has a unique like aesthetic, I'd say, that's kind of biodynamic, organic. So this was the first one we did, and you can see like. The purple was very subtle because I was scared. I mean, I couldn't justify making one piece, at this price range. So we said, okay, minimum 10. So I'm like, okay, let's take the risk. Let's do 10 pieces. We'll call it, the horophile edition or something, and we'll see what happens. And honestly, I remember, like, even the day I announced it, I was really anxious. Like, nobody's gonna like it because it's purple. Like, who wears purple? And I was honestly blown away by the feedback, and like we sold, I bought one, and the other 9 we sold in like less than an hour.
Wow, that's quick. Yeah.
I was like, okay, so I'm on to something here. Like this purple thing, I can't be the only one, right?
You have a purple and fellow enthusiast as well.
Yeah, and I'm happy to see that. Like, and yeah, so then like, okay, maybe I got a bit too cocky.
Then it escalated.
Then it escalated maybe a bit too fast, right? So like,
into a Moser.
Exactly. I mean, so about a year and a half after the Dietrich, a brand that I've honestly like been admiring ever since like you know the new management, and I noticed the brand trying to like freshen up, because product-wise I mean if you've been one of those hardcore geeks, like you would have seen Moser in the like mid 2000s, because they did come up with their perpetual calendar, which was like pretty revolutionary back then, and then it kind of disappeared. They had, you know, whatever problems any startup brand has, I guess. But then under new management, I felt like, okay, there's this real energy, and then, you know, I think things really changed when they did this, what they call the concept dials, which are like these logo-less, textless,
Fume also,
exactly, and the Fumes, which honestly, like, I think,
awesome.
nowadays I think almost every brand has like something in a Fume dial.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say Moser invented it, because it's been something we've seen like since the 60s and probably maybe even before. But like,
I used to have a vintage Datejust with a blue and black Fume dial, so from the 70s, I think.
I have
80s.
like a 69 Zenith, like with a But I think Moser really kind of made it fresh and cool, and you know, with all these colors. So I was like, okay, this could be something. Let's try to do something. And so, you know, after a lot of begging and crying, they finally agreed to do this like series of 10 pieces.
Which model is this?
So this is the Venture XL. So it's a stainless steel case, which was pretty rare, or very rare, as the brand says, for the time. I kind of like the oversized thing. I mean, you know, it was either that or like 39 millimeter. And for me, like, and a lot of my friends, like 39 millimeter is, I mean, I don't mind it nowadays, but for a lot of guys, it's on the smaller side. And honestly, we didn't want to do something super classical either. I mean, we wanted something that, a bit different. So
and you need space for the big, nice dial as well.
And I think it's nice, and especially this one has almost like a convex shape, where it's flat and
it breaks a bit on the circle.
So we did a purple Fume dial, but I mean, for me, it wasn't enough. Since Moser is like one of the few brands that make their own escapements, I wanted to do something special, and we did like the first purple balance wheel and purple hairspring.
Wow.
So I think that's like the first and only time it's ever been done.
Beautiful.
It's a little touch, but I think it's the kind of thing that people appreciate as well. It's not just, okay, we slapped on
an extra step, exactly. 10 pieces also made.
10 pieces.
Wow. Also sold, I mean, basically.
Not under an hour, but they sold out.
Was a bit longer. And then this is the latest
most recent
one, right?
I mean, just recently. I mean, again, like it kind of happened by surprise. So the Moser was like a few years ago, and honestly, like some of the people who bought it, and the Dietrich, because I have a few friends that bought both, and I'm really grateful.
Yeah.
Some of them are like, Amr, you haven't done anything in a while. Like, come on, what's wrong? Like, are you down? Is something wrong? Like, are you depressed? Like, I'm like, no, but honestly, like, if I don't see something that I think purple would make sense for, I'm not gonna just try to like go to any brand that's willing to do a product just to do something.
Yeah, because it's also not your revenue stream, right?
No,
it's not your business
at all.
So
I mean, even like
it's a passion project.
Yeah, with
basically.
this series, honestly, like, I mean, I'm not selling them, and I make zero out of them, and I bought my piece just like everybody else. The idea was honestly just for me, like, to put my stamp and kind of remind the industry. I mean, who made purple kind of cool. I mean, even though I'll never get the credit for it, but like, and not bragging, but like, it's true that honestly, especially I think since we did the Moser, I've seen a couple more brands doing like purple dial for men, and honestly, in the beginning, I might have been like a bit jealous or something.
You're like, oh.
But nowadays, I take it as like, okay, I might have made on some small level some kind of change or shift, and at least I made purple acceptable. And good news for me means I can buy purple watches without having to beg brands to do a unique piece, or having to do a series. So I'm all for it. So this is pretty cool.
This is from I saw this brand maybe a few months back. It's recently popping up a bit.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, I don't know the brand, or I didn't know the brand at all before Basel World of last year, and then a mutual friend, James Black Badger Thompson.
Cool guy.
I see him in Basel, and he's like, oh, Amr, these guys, I think you should check them out. I think, they got something you might like. So I've never heard of them. They're from France, and what
was the first thought?
Yeah, I mean, like, no, listen, I have nothing. I love the French. Come on, but I didn't know what to think. Honestly, I didn't understand if it was like a micro brand that's just like sort of subcontracting everything and making everything in Asia, and just like putting a logo or something. And they didn't have this model especially. So what I saw, honestly, like I was like, okay, why not? So I passed by to see them, but they weren't at the little table booth or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyways, I just took a picture of the watch and I DM'd it to them. Like, I tried to pass by, and then we wrote to each other. And then a couple of months later, Armand, who's one half of Sartre Billard, so he's Armand Billard, he posts this watch I see, like, where it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's like a beautiful, like, glossy. I see this thing that really like caught my eye. I mean, I follow a lot of brands, and I follow a lot of people I meet. I mean, and I don't always like engage, but this thing really stopped me. So I saw the watch and I was like, okay, this is interesting. Are you gonna come by Switzerland anytime soon? I'd love to see it because I'm not coming to Paris anytime soon.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'm gonna be there like in a few weeks. I'll hit you up. So we decided to meet on a Sunday, in like a hotel in Lausanne, whatever.
You made 10 pieces again, or?
Yeah, we made. I mean, I saw the watch and I was like, okay, it had a nice blue dial. I'm like, okay, this is definitely made for purple. So the beautiful thing is it's all titanium. The case is like matte blasted grade 5 titanium, which is usually a stupid thing to do because you get grade 5 titanium so you can polish it and have nice finishings.
Similar texture to the Octo Finissimo from Bulgaria.
Yeah. And I just love that look because the dial is like flame blued purple. I mean, flame blued titanium that's kind of gone a purple shade. And it's all made by the guy. I mean, like the cases are, I think, sourced in Switzerland, but he does like the dials himself. He polishes the hands, and honestly, I thought it was a cool piece.
No, it's beautiful.
So we did like a.
And the rotor is a nice touch as well.
I mean, we have to do always something a bit more than just a dial, you know. So like, so yeah, I showed it to a couple of friends and stuff. Honestly, in the beginning, I just wanted to make a unique piece. I showed it to a few guys. They're like, Amr, we want 10. So okay, we said let's do 5 pieces. 5 became 10. So we did like 10 friends and family, and I was like, okay, it would be too mean and cruel to kind of show it to people and be like, sorry, you can't have it. You know? Like, so we decided, okay, we'll do another 10 pieces as a regular, like limited edition that other people that I don't know can buy. And they're all sold out. So that's
nice, congrats.
It's cool.
And then you also have a few watch brands which are not from Switzerland.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, listen,
we see a few here.
I mean, I've been living in this country for like 20 years now, but I'm not Swiss, you know. So I have an affinity for watchmakers who aren't from around here as well, I have to admit. I mean, as much as I love my Swiss stuff, I like to discover other things because I think you find often different aesthetics influenced by whatever, you know, cultures,
languages,
climate, mood. So
what is this guy here?
This is pretty cool. This is, I mean, it's called GOS watches, which is short for Gustafsson and Sjögren. So it's like a kind of two-man brand where you have Patrick Sjögren, who's like a watchmaker. And you have a pretty well-known bladesmith called Johan Gustafsson. So he does like Damascus steel dials, but if you see his like knife work, I've known about the knife maker before the watch. It's funny enough, like because his work is incredible. He does like mosaic Damascus steel with like odd tempering colors. The guy's like one of the best like worldwide. So they partnered and made this brand of like Swedish watches. So again, I wanted to do something for me.
Unique piece, of course.
Yeah, this one is, I mean, it's a very personal thing, and I understand it's not for everyone, but that's kind of how I like my watches anyways. I mean,
super cool. The rotor is nice as well.
The rotor is nice, and that was the first time he does like also the rotor mass in the same sort of purple Damascus steel as the dial.
It's a very cool avant-garde look. I love it.
Yeah, and it does have like these Viking influences, and you know, like I like my fair share of metal, so I'm all into that aesthetic, so it's pretty cool.
And also somebody who is
also
in that
up north.
region, up north, right?
So
we see 2 watches here actually from 2 brands, but the same guy basically.
And it's funny because it's probably my first indie crush, I'd say, like from way back in like 2006 or 7, before he even had, you know, his signature moon phase, like Stefan Sarpaneva, like the guy, like.
That's the watch I remember you by as well.
I love the guy, I love his work, and I've wanted these watches honestly for like 10 years before I was able to like, you know, actually find a model that was like made for me, and obviously it was purple. I mean, but I love this one because it's like, you look at it and it's kind of monochromatic, and then, you know, when the lights go out, you have this like eerie purple glow, and it's just beautiful. You know, that Stefan moon phase, which I get is love or hate. Some people say he's angry. He's not. He's just finished.
I love it.
He's just finished. I mean, that's how they are. Like,
bit moody.
But yeah, it's very moody, very gloomy, but I love it. Honestly, it's probably, I have to say, probably my favorite watch. Honestly, like it's just very personal. And I mean, I was lucky to go up to Helsinki and pick up the watch directly from Stefan's atelier, and James Blackbadger, who did part of the dial, was there too.
Nice.
So it's just the whole experience. Again, I mean, that's what I love about indies. It's not like I just walked to my retailer and put myself on a waiting list or bought something out of stock.
Put the card in and that's it.
It's really about the experience and not the transaction. I think that's really like the biggest difference.
I can agree for sure.
And and then he made this. I mean, he made other, you know, he has his second brand, SUF, which is like more affordable. So he did this cool collab with Mo Capoletto, which was in purple.
The tattoo artist, right?
Exactly, tattoo artist from London, who's like a big watch guy. Like I've known him again on the watch forums before knowing he's even a tattoo artist. That's like how small a world watch collecting is. So again, purple dial, I couldn't say no.
Of course.
And the engraved bezel really
basically made for you.
Absolutely.
They had you in mind probably when they're like, I think Amr's gonna love this. And The bezel is actually engraved with Moser's design.
Yeah, exactly, like a laser engraved motif inspired by this design he did based on a merman, which is like what the name of the model is. It's Vettihinen, I think, in
I think so, yeah.
which means like merman. So
I see. Again, I love your collection because it's. I mean, listen, it's so diverse.
It's eclectic.
It's like a mini watch.
It's very personal. I mean, I think like if God forbid something were happen to me tomorrow, I want whoever sees my collection be like, damn, this guy like either really bought what he liked and didn't care about the hype and stuff.
You see this here. There's literally no high pieces here. Like,
I didn't bring
not even one.
Yeah,
which I love because it's a breath of fresh air.
But for me, the thing is, I mean, like, listen, everybody, should wear and enjoy what they like. Absolutely. If you like something that's sort of recognized and it's kind of a statement piece,
There's also appeal to that. It's cool.
Sure. I wouldn't mind certain pieces, but it's just for me, like, it has to be very personal and it has to be also quite rare. I mean, or unique, because I mean, if you're shelling out this much money, it's like a piece of art. Would you rather buy like a print edition or something unique or small?
Exactly. 100%.
So
And then you have also a
bunch
micro, small indie brand, which I also love personally, known for their crazy dials.
But God bless micro brands. I think they really like disrupted the industry, like in a way that.
What's this? I know it's a Lundi Bleu with a very special dial, right?
Yeah, again, like this is probably for a micro brand, I think I was a nightmare to work with because they do stone dials, which is pretty cool. Not a lot of brands do. I mean, even I think you either have Lundi Bleu or something at 10 times the price. That's the reality. For a very good price as well. Huh? Yeah, these are very affordable. I mean, they start I think like from 2K and up, which I think is very fair. Yeah. But I've always wanted like what we call labradorite, or some people call the better quality one is actually like I think spectralite, which is a mineral that's actually only found in Finland. So again, this northern connection. It was only discovered. There's no coincidence. Yeah, it was discovered during World War II, and it has this like beautiful kind of iridescence that's really hard to describe. It's almost like it's black, and then suddenly it's like a lightning strike of rainbow. Yeah. But me being me, I mean, usually this stone comes in blue, green tones. Yeah. You wanted it in purple. It took a year just to find like a stone that was suitable and that could be like good enough to be cut into a dial because it's very glassy. It shatters pretty easily. It's the defect. I think is similar to a black mother of pearl dial. Almost. So it looks black, but on certain levels, you see the color. It's almost like butterfly wings, to be honest. Like it has this like kind of. I don't know. I love it, honestly. And it's also one of my favorite watches now, just because I always wanted that dial. It was only available in like watches from 30K and up. Yes. Yeah. And at literally like almost a tenth of the price, I got the same effect. The same kind of feeling, the same. Yeah. And that's why I love micro brands because they skip the middleman. They have no like retailers. They have no distribution. It's not the easiest business model for them, but I think if they keep it niche, you can sell quite a few watches that way. It's like a gift to the collectors, I think, because again, this watch is maybe in the, let's say, 4 to 6K range. Yeah, but if they were selling for a retailer, of course. But again, it means like, they can always be, they can only really be a small operation, and that's kind of what I like though. It's like, I still have to wait for the watch. I speak to the same person from the beginning of the process till the end. We check the stones together. So again, it's just this whole experience. It's very personal. It's very personal. And then you also have a few brands here which people know. Some of them they might not know them. Louis R, the latest Allen Silberstein collab, right? It's a very fun collab. I mean, it's a regulator. It's pretty cool. Super colorful. I like it. Super fun. My wife said I have to have it, so I got it. Then a micro brand, which a lot of people probably know as well. L'Aventure. I went nuts. I mean, I have like 4 of them now, I think. I love his stuff. Honestly, they're like perfect tool watches. They look good. They're very well made. So it's nice. Sandwich dial, right, or something? Yeah, sandwich dial. Bronze cases. And then your love for Time Zone here? Yeah, exactly. I mean, this was a cool piece done in collab with like Habring and Time Zone, and the project was headed by William Messina, who was like, kind of a mentor and like a cruel tutor back in the day, but like I loved it. Honestly, I think for me it was like the nicest sector dial watch. Yeah, in the market. I mean, they've been making a comeback, but I think this came out even before the JLC did theirs. Even though a lot of people compare them, but this is based on like a certain Patek Calatrava or something, and it's a brand from Austria. It's an Austrian brand, husband and wife, and they love to show it. It's Deadbeat Second, right? Deadbeat Second is just beautiful. Cool. And then you also have a bit of a Japanese corner, let's say. I've been on a Japanese like binge lately. Like, so there's like Hajime Asaoka. He did his own like little micro brand or affordable brand, let's say, like called Kurono Tokyo, like which is based in Bunkyo neighborhood. That's where he has his atelier. And it's just like, honestly, like,
very cool.
I love Asoka's work, and kind of out of my price range, and there's quite a bit of a waiting list as well for his work. So this is like getting almost a taste of it, just a little dose of
the appetizer.
Exactly.
The appetizer.
I love it. Great watch. And then
a watch people love on the social media.
Yeah, I had to do it. You know what? Like I've been actually lusting after. There's the regular production cream dial version of that, which I've been looking at for years. It's always been in my like wish list, and I've always been kind of hesitant. Do I do it?
So this is a Grand Seiko.
Grand Seiko.
What's the model?
Grand Seiko. This is a special Asia edition. Don't ask me on the numbers. I think it's an SBGW something. I'm not good with numbers or names. But it's a special edition for their one of their distributors, I think, in like Southeast and Far East Asia, called Dongxia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry.
We'll have our people check that.
But it's I always wanted the manual winding. I mean, I know like for a lot of people, spring drive is the way to go, and for me, I'm just not there yet. I just have a hard time with like electronics in general. Like I like purely mechanical stuff. And what really drew me to this version was again this beautiful like. They call it, I think, a jade green dial, and it's got a nice texture, and the color really changes from like almost dark green to turquoise in the daylight.
The dial is like, maybe it's a Mountivate dial. I'm not sure because I had a similar one.
They have all these like engravings and etching methods, but that's what I love about them. They're doing really good stuff nowadays, and
great quality.
Great quality. I mean, really.
Grand Seiko is crushing it.
And that's like a fun little one, a recent one, like before the end of the year. Like, and I was really, really lucky to get it because it was a Japan-only edition Zenith. Basically, I don't know if we can even still call it an A384 because it's based on that model, but it's like it's basically a vintage re-edition of a watch that never existed except in like a Japanese manga and like anime series. There was only 50 pieces that sold out like in I think less than 2 days in Japan for like the I guess their Ginza boutique, and after a few Google Translate emails I managed to secure one. Took a
so you bought it from Japan directly, right?
Bought it from Japan,
There was no other way, right?
There was no other way.
Which manga or anime is this
So it's
based
called Lupin the Third.
Yeah.
And like basically he's got this like sort of mentor sidekick character who's actually in the show it featured a lot of cool watches. There were Breguets, there were Rolexes, and there's one of the watches that was there. It was like a Zenith 838, and you even actually see the logo, but they just blacked out the Z and the H, so it says Enit, but it still says like chronograph. It was a cool thing to do, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's the first watch based on an animated or Japanese series, so it's pretty cool.
I don't know any other one, honestly. And what's also, people might have seen it, today we actually both wear Hublot watches, which
it wasn't planned, I hope.
It wasn't planned, no, this is,
a pure coincidence, honestly, like.
It's a brand people on social media kind of hate on.
They love to trash, honestly, like, I think wrongfully so, because I think, Hublot is not a historical brand, it's not trying to be like haute horlogerie and fine finishing, that was never their thing. It's a young brand, it's like maybe 40 years old now or even less. And as gimmicky as some of the stuff they've done has been, I think when they really put their mind to it, they're one of the best when it comes to actually doing
and when they partner up with the right people as well.
Creative collaborations. And this is a piece I really love.
That's on your wrist for the
it's
last 2 weeks or days.
I mean, honestly, I had my eye on it for a while. I wanted it when I first saw this particular version, because for me, like the Hublot thing has to be dark and black.
So which model is this?
So this is the Big Bang Bleu, Black Magic, which I think was one of the last ones they've done of the first series. They've done a second like series with a chronograph and stuff, but I like it, but I still wanted the original. And I loved that it was black, but it still had the white, markers and hands and stuff. And it's just a very cool watch. Again, like
super cool.
Pushing the envelope a bit. Maxime Boucher of Sembleu is like a pretty well-known tattoo artist. I mean, he's got a tattoo shop in Zurich
as well,
London, LA. I mean, but the guy really is like a multidisciplinary artist. So tattoos is just like one facet of what he does. He also, cool. It's such a cool watch. I mean, the little details I think really come out. I mean, besides the specially shaped bezel and the engraved case and stuff, even little things like the numerals are not your typical numerals. So those were designed by Maxime of Sembleu. Like basically he has a typography agency. So they use a custom font, and it's just little details I think where, again, I think for those who trash Hublot, I mean you're kind of missing out sometimes. They can be really cool, really fun watches.
I completely agree with you. And the seconds hand is cool. I mean, the seconds disc in the middle.
And it's kind of logical. I mean, it gets used to because the hours is actually the outer disc, so it's the largest disc, and then minutes and seconds. But it kind of makes sense if you think of time. Like, so you have the fastest part in the middle, and I love this watch. Honestly, I finally got it after a year of like waiting for one.
Is the case is ceramic?
It's black ceramic.
Black ceramic.
And for some reason, yeah, it took longer to deliver than some of the others. So I got it like just before Christmas, and honestly, I've been wearing it quite a lot. Like, I just love it.
For me as
I
well.
love that one. I mean, Tom and the guys from Singapore Watch Club really killed it with that one. So
amazing.
Like, kudos to him.
We got this in November, I think.
It's beautiful. I mean,
most wrist time now since November.
Understandably, no, but I love them. I mean, I started my journey in a way with Hublot on Amazon.com, and now it's kind of nice to come full circle. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Congrats on the latest edition. Amr, thank you again for showing us a beautiful collection, very diverse. It's like a mini watch fair, like I said before. Let's do this again in a few years and see how many purple watches you have again.
Hopefully a lot more, but we'll see. You never know. Thanks so much
for
Marco.
coming. Appreciate
Keep up the good work, man. I'm really enjoying these interview series and all the videos.
Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward.
Appreciate you coming here.
My pleasure, man.